This is a three-part video on Chapter 6.2. We are done with Chapter 5 with the slopes and the rate of changes and the graphing. Again, that should have been a review for you more than anything else, but for those of you who did not get to see it, at least we did get to kind of go over it. Now we're getting into Chapter 6, which is another chapter that you should have gotten to last year. Again, it should be a review, which is why we're going to do 3 of these in once, and you need to use the rest of the day to kind of get to understand what's going on in terms of solving by substitution. Part 1 of this lesson is going to focus on the substitution step. The first thing that we're going to do is look at a process that I use that I call box and switch, which you'll understand why I call it box and switch in a moment. In order to do this, we have to verify a variable in a system of equations that is completely alone. Just so you know, the system of equations is any equation or any problem that has 2 equations with both an x and a y. I'm going to do some examples with just the boxes now, and if any of this is confusing, I tell you now to please come and see me at the desk so I can discuss it with you personally. Just write down these 2 questions on a piece of paper, bring your paper back, and I'll be glad to try to explain to you how it works. But box and switch starts out with identifying one variable that is all by itself. Once you've identified that variable, in this case, in this system, that variable is this y. You put a box around that variable. The next thing you do is you say to yourself, this y is equal to everything over here, so we're going to put a box around what it's equal to. So I have a box around the variable that's by itself, and I have a box or a rectangle around everything it's equal to. Then you go to the second equation and you put a box around the variable that was by itself, which is this y. Now what these boxes mean is that I'm going to trade the box for y with a 2x plus 3. So what the box and switch does, and again, you don't need to use boxes if you can see it, or if you're good enough at it to do it without the boxes. But what this does for me is it helps me visualize when I go to substitute that I write everything in front of the box, which is 3x plus 2. Then I turn my y into a 2x plus 3 using parentheses, and then I write everything behind the box, which is equals 4. So again, what that box and switch does for me is it gives me a visual to try to see what I'm supposed to actually be substituting for. Again, another box situation here, looking at this, finding a variable that's by itself. This is not by itself because it's with the 8x, but this variable actually is by itself. And again, it's equal to 3x plus 2. Once I know that, again, this is the variable that's by itself, so I go up to the second equation and put that variable in a box. And again, what that provides for me is a visual. Write everything in front of the box first, which is 8x minus. Then substitute using parentheses, which is 3x plus 2, and then write everything behind the box, which is equals 7. Again, that is as simple as it is. Again, and if you're having an issue with that, bring back your paper so I can get you on track, because if you don't get on track at this point, it's going to be a long day for you. It isn't always a y that's by itself. If you look at this problem here, x is actually by itself. X is equal to y plus 7, which again we'll put into a box. And then since x is in the box here, just put x, not the full 2x, but just the letter itself. These 2 boxes have to be exactly the same. There's an x in this one, there's just an x in that one. And again, write everything in front, which in this case is just 2. Then switch out my x for y plus 7 in quotes. And then write everything behind the box, which is minus 3y equals 11. And again, that is your starting point for that problem. Alright. D, you have another one. A y is by itself. Even though it's on a weird side, it's over here. That's fine. Y is equal to everything over here, which is 4x plus 3. Since it was y in the box here, I want just y in the box there. And again, once I do that, I write everything in front of the box, 3x plus 2. I trade out my y for whatever it's equal to, which is 4x plus 3. And then write everything behind the box, which is equals 10. That is the very first step. And again, if you cannot do the very first step, there's going to be some problems in terms of you understanding what's going on. E, once I see a letter by itself, I put it in a box. I put what it's equal to in a box, and then I put just that letter in the other equation in a box. Again, in front of the box is a 2. Switch out my x for a 2y plus 4. And then everything behind the box is plus 5y equals 9. Alright. So again, if you need assistance on that, bring back your paper so I can try to explain it a little bit, maybe give you an example. But once we've identified the isolated variable and placed boxes, we simply rewrite the equation with the one box by substituting the new value for it. And again, that is what we call the substitution step. So I'm not going to work out all of these because I just kind of did it, but I will take a couple of them just to make sure we at least have the idea. So again, if you want to make sure, pause the video and work out the first one, which is this one, just to see if you get it right, that's fine. But I'm probably only going to do 2 of these, and the first one I'm going to do is letter A. So again, if you want to pause the video and work out A, that's fine, but that way you know whether you understand it or not. What I'm going to do for A is I'm going to look for the variable that's by itself, which in this case is y. Y is equal to 2x plus 3. Take this y here, put it in the box down here. Now this is my substitution equation. I'm going to write everything in front of the box, which is 3x plus 2. I then open up parentheses and put 2x plus 3 in place of y, and then I write everything in outside the box again, which is equals 4. Again, if you got that right, if you understood what I was doing, then you're in good shape. If not, you need to be thinking about coming up and asking about it first before you let this go too far. Looking at C, I'm going to look at C again if you want to work it out before, and this is the last one we're going to do on this part of the video. But if you want to look at C and work it out and see if you get it right, that's fine. But again, I'm giving you that time and kind of stalling for you to pause the video. C, the first thing I'm looking for is a variable that's by itself, which is this x. X is equal to y plus 7. That x up here needs to also go into a box. In front of that x is a 2, or in front of that box is a 2, so I open it up and I put y plus 7 on the inside of it, and then I write everything behind it, which is minus 3y equals 11. Alright, again, that is the substitution step. Second part of the video now. The first part of the lesson is focused on substituting, and pretty much we learn how to use box and switch to identify key parts and substitute using parentheses. Now what we're going to do is take it 2 steps further. We're going to distribute the parentheses and also combine like terms. Again, 2 things you've done before. Keep in mind this is actually required on your Math Excel assignment with work, so be sure that you understand how it works. Otherwise, again, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation once you get done. So here's what your computer is going to ask you to do. It's actually going to have 3 blanks for you to type all this stuff in. The first thing you're going to do is identify your box and switch portion, which again we did that already. I'm not going to take forever on that. You have 3 parentheses 5y minus 4 minus 2y equals 7. Again, that will actually be typed in into your first box whenever you do this to start your assignment. We know that anytime there's parentheses, it means that you need to distribute. So that's going to be the second step we do, which is to distribute. 3 times 5y is 15y. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Bring down your minus 2y. Bring down your equals 7. That is the second line of what you will have to type on your Math Excel. And then the third line is where you're going to combine terms. 15 minus 2 is 13y minus 12 equals 7. That is where you're going to stop for right now. Now again, we will go on further than that on the third section of this video, but for right now that's what we are doing, is making sure you understand those 3 steps. But that's it. Substitute like we showed you, or like I showed you, distribute, and then put your like terms together, and that is all. Looking at B, this variable is by itself. Again, I'm not going to take forever on the substitutions or the box and switch step because we just talked about it, and if you haven't come back to see me, then I think it's time to now. Other than that, everything in front of the box, 3x plus 5, parentheses, 3x plus 2 equals 7. That would be what we did in the last video. This video here, you are now going to distribute. So 3x plus, that makes 15x, and plus 10 equals 7. Like terms, 18x plus 10 equals 7. Again, these are the 3 things you are going to type in to the first questions that you see on your computer assignment. And again, if you're stuck on any of this, bring your paper back so I can try to help you figure out what's going on. On C, there's my box. That's what I'm switching it for, and there's another one there. Everything in front is 4x minus, parentheses, 2x minus 3 equals 7. Now you need to be careful when you see these, because that negative sign, if you remember algebra, means everything switches. So yes, 4x will stay 4x minus 2x, but remember that the opposite of a negative 3 turns into a positive 3. This is where most of the people miss the question. After that, like terms go together. 4x minus 2x is 2x plus 3 equals 7, and again, that is where we are going to stop for right now. And again, if there's any issues on doing this, you need to come and see me now, because this is going to be the last example for this portion of the video, which means that if you are lost, it's time to come and get some assistance from me personally. Box and switch gives me 4 parentheses 5y plus 3 minus 2y equals 8. The next thing I do again is distribute, so 20y plus 12 minus 2y equals 8. That's your second thing you'll type in, and the third thing you'll do is combine like terms. 18y plus 12 equals 8. So again, the first thing the computer is going to have you do is show that you at least know how to do those first 3 steps, because in all honesty, as you're going to see on the next video, everything after that is very, very simple. So part 3, this whole day has been spent learning how to substitute and simplify. As long as you've done your part so far, again, bringing up any questions that you have, this should be very, very easy. All we need to do now is solve for the final step. So few quick examples of what's going on, followed by a lesson credit, and that'll be it. So we have y equal to this being substituted here. Again, 5x minus 2 parentheses 4x minus 7 equals 5. You've seen that part. You've also seen this, and being careful that that's a negative 2, which makes minus 8x and plus 14, because that is negative 2 times negative 7 equals 5. The third step we did was put these two things together, so negative 3x plus 14 equals 5. And again, that is where we just stopped. Now what we're going to do is actually solve it and use our algebra brain, which we know how to do. We get negative 3x equals negative 9. Again, I usually like to switch my sign over whenever my x is negative, and then divide, and you end up with x equals 3. That is, again, where you're going to go today. Alright, so for today, you're not going to solve both of them. For those of you who remember how this works, you're not actually going to find both of them. You're just going to go far enough to get here, because if you can get the first answer, tomorrow we're actually going to go ahead and wrap it all up. Second example. Here's my variable is by itself. Here's what it's equal to. Everything in front of the box is there. Trade out y minus 5 plus y equals 11. From there, we distribute 2y minus 10 plus y equals 11. We put our like terms together just like we did in the last video. 3y minus 10 equals 11. Now we are going to do what you know how to do, which is to solve. So plus 10, 3y equals 21. Dividing both of those by 3, we end up with y equals 7. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps worth of work is really all you're being asked to do today. So again, if you're lost on any of this, make sure you bring it up so I can try to help you out. Here, box and switch, x plus 3 parentheses 2x minus 7 equals 7. Distribute x plus 6x minus 21 equals 7. Putting these two things together, you get 7x minus 21 equals 7. And again, that's what we did in the last video. Now all you're going to do is finish it off. 7x equals 28. Dividing by 7, x is equal to 4. One more question before we quit. And again, if you're having any issues with this, please make sure you are coming back to ask about it, so I can help you out personally and try to help you find out whatever it is that you might be missing. 2 parentheses 4y minus 3 minus 3y equals 4. Distribute 8y minus 6 minus 3y equals 4. Like terms, 5y minus 6 equals 4. Once we get there, now this video is this section is talking about solving it, so you simply add 6 to both sides and divide by 5 to get the answer of y equals 2. That is the video for the day. Again, make sure you're aware of everything that's going on. Other than that, work these two questions out. This one over here you're going to solve for x. This one over here you're going to solve for y. Bring them up whenever you're done so you get credit. Please don't go to the computer Math XL assignment first, because if you go to Math XL and come up and ask a question and I have not marked you down for having a lesson credit, I'm not going to help you. So do this first and then bring it up so I can try to make sure you're on the right track and give you some feedback. Other than that, again, this is pretty much the majority of your week. As long as you've got this understood, you should be in good shape. That should be another easy week for you. If not, if you don't know how to do it, then just make sure you're getting help. And again, I want you to work together once everybody else is done so you can get this thing understood. Good luck.